So I've repeatedly received the question, will AI take my job as an investment banking analyst or private equity analyst? And I've always said no. And I stand by that. What I would say though is that especially after the last week or two, I've been doing what the coding world calls vibe coding, where you're essentially using an AI to manage the creation of code. And it's becoming increasingly clear to me exactly what will happen. So when you look at coding, historically you've been punching in lines of code, and there was a lot of like rote work to actually make the code come together. Now, the exercise is really managing the code and thinking creatively around the problem you're solving as opposed to the execution of the thing. And I think the exact same thing is going to happen in the finance world. What you're seeing now is the emergence of all these tools that essentially do the annoying work that you didn't want to do anyways. And that's the good news. So when you move into the future, I think what's going to happen is you're going to have Vibe Finance, Vibe Banking, and Vibe PE. It's going to be the same exact thing where when you work through a model, for example, it won't be the execution of entering things into the Excel that will matter, but rather the thinking around what is in the cells and why they're there, and how to think about the business that you're analyzing. And I think that's where the world's heading. And the tools that are out there, I've seen tools like, Hebia, like Rogo, Oxy, that are really enabling this, or at least starting to enable this. And I think what you're going to see is the skill set that's required to succeed as an analyst 3 years from now is going to be very, very different than the skill set that's required today. Today, you can get away with just punching in keys and hitting numbers. Going forward, it's going to be a lot more thinking and a lot more responsibility relative to today. And so I think as someone who is going into this field or is thinking about going into this field, I would really start getting familiar with AI tools and learning how to use them. It might even be worth it, even though it's not technically in finance, to actually try to build something with code and learn the process of like iteratively getting an AI to do something, because in the end, it actually gets rid of the grunt work that you don't want to do anyways, and it makes it a lot more interesting. I've done coding, I've now done vibe coding, and I can tell you the latter of the two is much more interesting because you're actually thinking the whole time, and it's really just creative thinking, but it takes some practice to get good at it, and you're really like managing the AI. And so as we move into the future, I think that's where the world's headed, and I'm much more confident in that than I used to be, where there are a lot of moving pieces. It wasn't quite sure where things are heading, but I think we're heading into a future of vibe banking and vibe PE.